Welcome to December something. I can't remember exactly what the date is, 17th, 18th, 19th, but I do know today is the Saturday before Christmas. Christmas is coming up next week, and then we have that long extended holiday break. Looking forward to that. It's going to be exciting. And well, you know what? Before I say anything for any before I say anything more, check out the gorgeous weather. Not a cloud in the sky. Look at that beauty. And then the sun just so bright and magnificent up there in the sky. You don't want to be looking at it directly though. Seeing it through this camera is okay. However, no breeze. I wish there was a little bit of a breeze. That would just make everything perfecto mundo. But temperature wise, it feels less than 70 degrees and greater than 65 degrees. So somewhere between 65 and 70 degrees, but extremely pleasant temperatures. And then earlier there was a plane up in the sky. So just very picturesque, and so you can understand why so many people flock here to want to visit and live, because I mean, think about it. It is late December, literally late December, and we still get this warm, comfortable, sunny weather. So let me start walking towards the front of the house because I want to answer a few questions about my new internet service. I just switched to AT&T from Spectrum. But before I forget, I want to make a huge shout out to Avito. Had a fantastic time last night celebrating his 57th birthday. And 57 is a number that looks good on you, Avito. Well, you know, any number looks good. I mean, it doesn't matter how high it goes. But yeah, some wonderful memories. So yeah, thank you for the invite. I especially enjoyed all the conversations I've had. Or not I've had, but I had during the celebration. Well, let me get to the crux of the video. And this is what I want to show you. Look at this installation. So here is the telephone cable that was installed by a technician, not this past Wednesday, but the Wednesday earlier before this past Wednesday. An AT&T technician came over and did this installation. He did a very neat and tidy job. So as you can see here, the cable is just very straight, almost vertical. And he used these staples, which are very, how do I say this? Oh, there's a car coming through here. Let's wait till it passes. It's making so much noise. Oh, one of my biggest pet peeves. The modified mufflers. But let's get back to this. The staples are very minimal, and look at this. So he even was considered enough to hide and tuck away the cables, or not the cables, but the cable singular, behind this fascia board. So it runs along the fascia board, and then it enters the house through that vent. And one of the requests I've made, one of the requests I made to him was to minimize the damage to the wall. So he didn't want to drill a hole through the wall and slip the cable in through that way, because that would cause more destruction to it. And so he suggested running it through the vent, and that's exactly what he did. So very impressed with the installation, because it had extremely minimal impact to the house. So the telephone cable or telephone line comes into the house through the vent, and then it snakes over this beam of the roof here, and then it's connected to this electronic device, which converts that cable into a broadband cable, which is this green colored cable here. And then that green colored cable comes and gets connected to the back of this AT&T modem. It's a modem slash router. I don't use it for the router purpose though. I use it just for as a modem. There is the power supply cable here, and then the green cable again is the broadband cable, and then here is the network cable, which goes through and gets connected to the back of my personal router, because this router here provides a better Wi-Fi signal. And let me go onto the other side so you can see what the back of the router looks like. But to answer the question, because there was a question as to why I installed the cable, the modem, internet modem here, and the router all the way up in the roof, and that's because if it weren't up here, if these devices weren't up here, then they would be sitting on this shelf, and I already had plans on what to store up on this top shelf here, and I didn't want anything to interfere with that plan. So the next best alternative was to move what would be on here with the Wi-Fi equipment that would be on here, just to move it up one level, which puts it up on these beams, which make up the structure of the roof, I guess. The personal router that I have up here, it's got the cable, the power cable, and the internet cable right here. So that's pretty much it. Those two cables that plug into the back of the router, and that amplifies the Wi-Fi signal. And holding it up is just a very small or thin rectangular piece of plywood. Yep. So yeah, very easy installation. All right, so let me recount the story of how I ended up with AT&T internet service. So about 2 weeks ago, I walked into the local Carmel Valley location Costco warehouse, and at the close to the entrance, there was an AT&T service, internet service, and cable TV service salesperson, and he pointed at me. It wasn't an impolite point, it was just, hey, you. And it was significant in the sense that he got right to the point. He got straight to the point. He didn't make any formal introductions. He didn't do any greetings, any salutations. Hi, how are you? My name is, hello. None of that. Just got straight to it and pointed at me and asked me point blank, how much are you paying for internet service? And at the time, I wasn't thinking about switching service provider. It wasn't on my radar, but I didn't want to be rude and just brush him off and kept on walking. So I kind of humored him and answered his question. I'm paying $75 per month at the moment. And then he responds with a, how would you like to save $25 a month? Now, that started to pique my interest. Now, had he said, how would you like to save $5 or $10 a month, I would have politely said, no, thank you, and just got on with my day. But $25 is significant enough. Well, $25 per month is significant enough for me to stop and ask for more details. So that's exactly what I did. I asked him to explain how it would work, if there would be an installation fee, which turns out there's none. Zero charge for the actual installation itself. And all you have to do, and all I'm doing right now, it's been two weeks now. The service has been extremely reliable, great, phenomenal. The unlimited data, the speed is half of what I was getting with Spectrum, but I don't even use a quarter of what I was getting with Spectrum. So why should I pay for all that service that I am not even utilizing? So 50 is a great number, at least for me and the usage that I have. So he said zero installation fees, and there's so many windows for the technician to come and do the installation. Literally every single day there are 5 different windows. So from 8 to 11, 11 to 12, and 1 to 3, 3 to 5. So they pretty much can accommodate and work around your busy schedule. So you just say, I want the installation in a week on at around this time. They'll have the technician call you, which he did. He called about half an hour before he arrived, and he came and he was all ready and prepared. Installation itself, I showed you earlier in the video what the result is. It took about an hour, but most of that time he was just working on his own. He was just measuring the data, the Wi-Fi signal or whatever he was doing. But it's pretty much hands off. You don't even have to be with him the whole time. You just have to let him into your house to do the installation. And after he did the installation, I didn't have to, but I did tidy up the modem and the personal router that I have, and place it up in the attic area. But you don't have to do that. And then after that, it's just, right now I'm paying $50 a month. It's a $25 savings compared to Spectrum, which I was on since I've moved into the house. The promotional rate I started off with when I first got Spectrum, I think it was $40, and then they gradually increased it to 50, and then 55, 60, 65, and right now it's currently at $75 per month. And with AT&T, right now I'm on the $50 promotional rate per monthly billing cycle, and they did notify me that will go up to $60 per month after the promotional period. So even the non-promotional rate next year would only be $60, and that's still a $15 savings compared to Spectrum. And I have a feeling Spectrum is going to raise that up on me as well moving forward. And something remarkable though, so when I contacted Spectrum after I got my AT&T internet service all hooked up and running. I called Spectrum to cancel that service because I don't want to be stuck with paying 2 different services when I only need to use one or the other. And I decided to commit to AT&T. I called Spectrum to cancel my internet service with them, and guess what the telephone representative said? He tried to convince me to not cancel and stay with their service by offering me a significant discount. So from $75 a month down to $39.99 per month. And he would even double the speed. And $39.99, that's $40. That's $10 less than AT&T, the new service that I'm getting right now. But at that time, I had already committed to AT&T, had the equipment installed, and had the technician come over. So I felt bad if I didn't cancel and stay with Spectrum and cancel the AT&T, which just got installed, and I signed all the paperwork. I mean, obviously there wasn't any contract, so I could have canceled AT&T at that time, but I don't know how feasible it would be to just make that happen. So I went along with AT&T, but it's just noteworthy that all I had to do was call Spectrum, my previous service provider, and threaten to cancel. They would have lowered my bill almost by 50%. So that's the moral of of my story. What you should do if your internet service is not on the promotional rate, the non-promotional rate, just call them and ask them to cancel the service. What most likely will happen is they will put you on the promotional rate for another year. And I've heard this from multiple sources that's what they would do. And I wish I'd done that. I'd rather keep my old service Spectrum at $39.99 at 100 megabits per second than switch over to AT&T But because I didn't know that they would offer me the promotional rate again, I switched over to AT&T. And I mean, AT&T is great because again, I haven't had a lapse in service since they installed it 2 weeks ago. The installation process itself was very short and very professional, and it was pretty just quick. Less than an hour, and then it was done, and I got my service through them almost right away. And it's been 2 weeks. I have two roommates, and we tested streaming Netflix, three of us simultaneously, and it was still streaming smoothly. So the service is phenomenal. And yeah, what else I want to say here? So yeah, more of the story. If you have an internet service that you don't like, just call them and ask to be put on a promotional rate. Now, it's harder if in your neighborhood or in your area you only have one provider. So I know some neighborhoods, kind of out in the boonies, way east, they only have Cox or they only have Spectrum. So because of that monopoly, it will be harder to go down to the promotional rate. But I would say most neighborhoods have multiple providers. So here in Mira Mesa, we have the infrastructure for both AT&T fiber or Spectrum cable internet. We don't have Cox, and some areas have Cox and they don't have Spectrum. Some areas have Cox and no Spectrum at AT&T. Some areas have Cox and AT&T. So it really depends. But definitely give them a call and see if you can get a lower monthly bill. And if you can't, then switch if it's available. And if you are in an area where it's just one provider, then educate me. Call them and see what they can do for you, and then share your experience like what I'm doing right now.